Now we've got the big beautiful bill brings in no tax on overtime and tips.
Well, yeah. Well, that's not no tax on overtime or tips, but there's a cap on it, right?
Okay, so what's that mean?
This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
And so the overtime is that means there's an exclusion. So
okay.
you're going to put the full amount on your W-2 in whatever the tax software is, and put that, and then you'll add. There's a separate item to put how much overtime or how much tip is there. You can have tips and overtime, but the overtime can't exceed $12,500 per Social Security number. So husband and wife can get up to $25,000.
I gotcha. Okay.
Or a husband and a husband, depending on what the tax return, what the marriage is like. But the per Social Security number, you can do the 12.5. Per tax return, it's for the tips. That's the overtime. Per tax return per the tips, the $25,000 is the maximum per tax return. So
if you're filing jointly,
the maximum you can
25.
You can do is exclude is 25.
I gotcha.
That could be 20,000 from one spouse and 10,000 or 5,000 from another spouse. But if you've got $30,000 of tips, you can only exclude 25 between the.
So if I'm a married couple and we're both depending on a lot of tip income, it might be better to file separately. Is that because
there's
probably some calculations you need to do.
The married filing separate calculation is based on a disparate amount of income from spouses, and so it could result in a married filing separate as a better tax position for you to be in. So.
Interesting. Yeah, as you're listening to this, and you're listening to Todd talk about this, and you're out there thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe you want to talk to Todd because he's going to take care of you. Just text Todd to 702-203-1165. Again, that's 702-203-1160. Just text his name to me, and I'll put you in touch with Todd, and he'll help you out with your tax return.
I'll be glad to do it.
That's what we love it when listeners reach out. We love that. That's great.
So on the overtime, one thing I want to say is, so it's only the 0.5 of your overtime, not the 1. So it's time and a half.
Gotcha.
So if you take the total amount you got as overtime, divide it by 3, that 1/3 is the deductible portion, the excludable portion. The regular straight time isn't.
Okay, so if you're getting $20 an hour and your overtime ends up being $30, you're getting that $10 deduction, $10 per hour deduction. I get it. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I get it. So they're not giving you all of it. You don't get all of it off. You just get the amount you're paying above normal.
Yes, and that came into play towards the end of the tax year. It wasn't necessarily going to be applicable in 25.
Okay,
but it became applicable, and so the W-2s aren't accommodated to report those numbers.
Right.
The tips are typically reported, especially if it's tip compliance, that kind of stuff. But the overtime's not been reported.
Right.
And so I've been helping a lot of my business clients produce reports for their employees of here's your overtime.
Oh, good. Yeah, because the payroll services can have that. Anyway, if they're running payroll through any of the services, they'll get that information.
So ask your employer for an overtime report. If you do have overtime and you didn't get the report, get it in on your tax return because you can exclude up to that 12.5 if it is.
Yeah.
Unless you're a business owner. If you're the owner of the business, you're not eligible to deduct the
so I can't pay myself overtime.
Sorry, Harv.
Yeah. I kind of understand that. Although because
they consider it subject to abuse, and so
of course
if you're like, I'm working overtime, So if you're like a 2% owner of a shareholder of a S corporation, or if you're an owner in the partnership. Partners don't pay themselves overtime.
No.
Don't give themselves a wage anyways.
Right.
But if you're an S corporation shareholder and you've earned W-2 for the year, you can't, even if there is overtime involved, you can't exclude it.
Can anybody say, say I'm a banker, how much tips can I declare as a banker?
Yeah. Well, the issue is if it needs to be reported on your W-2.
Okay.
And so, if it's not reported on your W-2, you can report it and then exclude it, but it would add to the other wages that are already on there. And so the IRS has already published a memorandum about which industries and which positions are eligible to make this to make the tip exclusion.
Right.
They include all the traditional ones that like hairdressers, barbers.
waiters,
valets,
bartenders,
waitresses, right?
Yeah.
Bellhops. Those people are subject to the dealers in the casinos.
Sure.
Those guys. Those guys are regularly getting tips.
Right.
Those are industries that the IRS has already identified as being subjected to tips.
Okay.
And so those are the ones that are eligible for this tip exclusion. If you're not one of those industries,
right,
and you start putting you put recognizing an exclusion for tipped income,
yeah.
You could send them the IRS a wedding invitation too, because they'll show up for that too. Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean that's essentially what you'd be doing. Like, hey,
Gotcha.
If you don't want any unnecessary, unjustified attention, grab.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That's an audit. That's an audit red button right there.
I did have a mortgage lender talk to me, or a loan originator, and he was like, "I've got a guy who has income. It's not tipped income. It's not always reported on his.
Right.
Can we report that as much as to the limit, and then have it excluded for lending purposes?"
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, I mean as long as it's legitimate and it's whatever, we can put it in." He's like, "Oh, he went through his bank statement and magically it added up to $25,000." Like, yeah, that's great.
Wow.
So
how fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it walks and talks like the duck that it's supposed to be,
right.
That's fine. But whatever factual is true, let's do that. But I'm not in any way advising anybody to do anything.
No, don't.
That's not legit or 100%.
Yeah, it used to be like a lot of our clients here in Vegas in particular, because a lot of people are dependent upon tip income, and a lot of them had that dilemma. Gee, I didn't really necessarily declare all my tips because I didn't have to because of the rules or whatever it was. But yet I made a lot more money, and so I should be eligible for this mortgage, but it's not reflected anywhere. Now, because of that exemption, it should be easy for them to just go ahead, yep, put it all in there. Yeah. And now those people who couldn't get a mortgage because of so much tip, now they should easily be able to get it.